Hello everybody, this is Tazilon. I'm in the garage here on the test server to bring you a short film on how the new physics is going to affect how we can turn our tanks. There's a couple other things being tested right now. We're looking also at some new sounds. All the sounds are being reworked: environmental sounds, gunfire sounds, engine sounds. And so while I run the turning demonstration, I will leave the sounds turned up so that you can hear some of the new cannon sounds. I almost said rifle sounds because a lot of the tanks sound like they have rifles now and not cannons. I like the changes to the engine sound and the environmental sound. I really don't like a lot of the new rifle or cannon sounds that you're going to hear. But changes to physics and how they affect lights. Small bumps in terrain, railroad tracks, things like that supposedly aren't going to slow us down anymore. So lights and mediums should become more agile, be able to retain their top speed more easily as they cross rough terrain. But the big change coming affects our ability to turn. A normal turn is still going to go pretty much the same way as before. However, we get two new options to help us turn and control the radius of our turns. Number one, we can lift our finger off the forward button and just use our directional controls to slow down a little bit in the turn, and it dramatically decreases the turning radius that we have, although we do lose speed doing it. Number two, we can simulate locking a track up completely by pressing the space bar, lifting your finger off the drive button, and keeping another finger on your directional control. So if I wanted to turn real sharply to the right, I would take my finger off the forward button, press space and the right turn arrow, and as I slow down, I'll do a 180, not quite in place, but with an extremely short turning radius. The downside of that is dramatic loss of speed. You come out of your 180 with almost no forward momentum whatsoever. However, it can be very useful in the right situation. So what I'm going to do is take a few different scout tanks out and show you how the different turning techniques impact the speed of the turn and the radius that you use while you make a 180-degree turn. I'm going to start off with the PZ38NA because it's notorious for being a bad turner. And then I'll look at, let's see, maybe a T54 lightweight, so you get to see a tier 8 scout, and you know I'm going to test it on the VK2801 because it wouldn't be one of my videos if I ignored that awesome tank. And then maybe a T71 because they are notoriously good turners, so it'll be interesting to see how fast that thing can whip around once it slows down. So without further ado, let's go hit the battlefield and see how these new changes to turns impact our tanks. Okay, here we go with our test of the PZ38NA. Full speed turn. You can see how wide of an arc it makes. Wow. None of the other test tanks are going to be that wide on their turns, I guarantee you that. It has a reputation as a bad turner for a reason. It really is. It's still an awesome little tank though. Okay, now we'll go back and make the second pass. On this one, we'll do the finger lift method where we keep our finger down on the directional turn to the left, but we lift our finger off the forward drive. And here we go. Now with this tank, you almost stop moving forward. You don't even have enough momentum to make it through the turn, but you can see how much shorter, how much tighter of a turning radius it was achieving while it still had enough power to actually move forward. In the last demonstration here for the PZ38NA, we'll do the clutch braking simulation where we press down the space bar, take our finger off the forward drive, and use the left turn arrow. Here we go. It just runs out of momentum, but yes, it does turn tighter. I think in order to make that one work, I'm going to try it another time and put my finger back on the forward button just to see if I can actually coax it all the way through a 180 there. It loses momentum so quickly. Okay, here we go. Come on, little tank, whip it out, whip it out. There we go. What I did was, as I started sliding, I hit the forward button again, and that gave it just enough power to whip out the 180. So the 38 is going to take a little bit of extra skill to pull that maneuver off, but you saw how quickly it still whipped its back end around and completed the 180 with little coaxing and help from the driver. And now we're going to move on to T54 lightweight. Oh, here we go with the standard turn on the T54 lightweight. See how wide an arc it takes, and I'm being spotted by enemy tanks, so hopefully I get to complete this before I get shot. Now we'll go back and do the same thing, lifting my finger on the forward drive button and maintaining the finger on directional control. See how much more narrow of a turn that is on the T54 lightweight. Finally we'll go back, if I can get away with it, do it one more time. And simulate the clutch braking by pressing the space bar, lifting my finger from the forward drive and keeping my other finger on the turn. You can see how quickly it can spin around once it slows down just a little bit. Okay, so here we are in the T71. We're going to go around the going to turn around the supply crates. Standard turn. Second pass. Turn by lifting our finger off forward drive. You can see that even moves around really quick once it slows down. And now we will do the clutch braking and press the space bar while we take our finger off the forward drive and keep our finger on the directional control. Once it slows down, it almost turns in place. Remarkably fast turn. So one tank to go, 2801. Okay, so here we go with the final test of the K2801. We'll go around this bush at full speed. Normal turn, old style turn. See how wide we go. Second pass, we'll do the finger lift. And final pass, we'll do the clutch braking and see how good of a 180 we can whip out. It's important to note you don't just have to do it for a 180. You may just want to do a 90-degree turn really fast or really abruptly, but I'm just doing 180s to show you how it does it. End up changing direction very rapidly, however, great loss of speed as we go. So there's a look at the turns in a variety of different weapon platforms, and I'll return to the garage and wrap up the test for you. So there you have a look at how the new methods of turning affect both great turners like the T71 and bad turners like the PZ38NA, which loses speed so dramatically you need to give it a little coaxing with forward momentum, forward power to get it to whip out a 180, but still, when you apply your engine correctly, you can whip out a pretty fast turn. And what I envision the usefulness of this being in battle is a couple different ways. When you're on city maps and you're running full speed trying to make a 90-degree turn, especially like say coming down the ramp from the hill, on Himmel, on the backside where you come down that U-turn ramp and have to make the left turn at the bottom. A lot of tanks drift, and you slam into the building on the far end of the turn. If you do the finger lift method, you may be able to control your speed enough to where you can make it through that turn without losing adhesion to the cobblestone and starting to drift. Other places on city maps going to let you make a tighter turn, and if you learn to apply your power at the right time, lift going into the turn at the apex of the turn, reapply power and power your way out of the turn, I think you're going to be able to turn tighter and really maintain a lot of speed through the turn, which is going to be really nice to be able to do. With the clutch braking scenario, the way I envision that being extremely helpful, you're out in the open, you're running in on a tank, full speed, you start doing the turn sequence as you approach the tank, fire into his flank as you flash by him, and by the time you get to the rear of him, if you time it right, you'll have slowed down just enough to where you can whip out that 180, accelerate again, and all of a sudden you're on the other side of him. There's no way a larger tank can get the turret rotation to match that kind of agility on your part. So from there, you either proceed directly into a circle of death, having the advantage of getting probably 2 shots off before he can even really begin to react to what you're doing, or escape on out of there, get behind cover, behind concealment, and then either decide to re-engage later on or just continue on, make it a hit and run attack, and be out of dodge and go find somewhere else to fire. I think there's going to be a lot of fun ways to apply these new physics. The fact that we're going to be able to go over kind of level railroad tracks, I'm looking at maybe Ensk, situations like that, maybe the railroad yards down in Himmelsdorf, to where there's not a steep grade we have to go over, so we don't have the hill slowing us down. It's just the tracks themselves, be able to power over them, go over small obstacles, go through fences without slowing down. It's going to be a nice addition to things that actually help scouts out, because as you know, there's been a war on scouts for a long time now, and getting some changes to the game that actually help us maintain speed and perform better on the battlefield is a really nice addition to the game. It's good to see. So from the test server, getting to look at a variety of different tanks going through turns with the new methods that are going to become available to us in the near future. Happy hunting.